Hello there. Today I'm at the Hundredhills Winery, just up the valley from Henley-on-Thames, amongst the Chiltern Chalk Hills, and the wine I have here is Hundredhills Blanc de Blanc 2019, and this is a wine that I tried a couple of days ago at a winegb tasting in London, and it impressed me so much I wanted to come to the winery and see where it was made. Now, this is an estate that was planted as recently as 2014. Evidently Stephen and Fiona Duckett purchased this land in 2012. They have 17 hectares here, and it's planted entirely to Chardonnay and Pinot Noir on more or less equal levels. Stephen and Fiona put immense effort into finding this site. Evidently they made several hundred visits to potential sites throughout the UK before they settled on this location. During their searching, they were assisted by somebody called Dr Michel Salgue. And Michel Salgue was chef de cave for many years at Roederer, the champagne house, and then subsequently went on to start Roederer's estate in the Anderson Valley in California. And he ran that winery for something like 20 years. So very experienced producer of champagne and sparkling wine. And the idea that Stephen and Fiona had was that they wanted to produce wines that echoed the style of champagne from the 60s and the 70s, when alcohol levels were perhaps a little bit lower, acidities were sharper, and the wines were much more focused than they are today as a result of the changes in climate. And Michel Salgues' belief was that in England you had the ability to keep grapes on the vine that much longer, even through into October, to give them a longer hang time and to allow them to develop better flavours. Now, the wines here are entirely made by parcels, and that's why I'm hanging on to this bottle here, because I love the fact, if you look at the back label there, there's a schematic there that shows which vineyard this was picked from. So this comes from a single 0.89 hectare area at the top of the hill there, where the soils are particularly shallow. Evidently the depth varies about 30 to 15 centimetres of topsoil in places, and then the vines go straight onto this very pure broken chalk that the vineyards are formed on. These hills are the top edge of a ridge of chalk. This particular vineyard is on the other side of the valley from the winery, and it's planted entirely to a clone of Chardonnay called Clone 95. So the base wines here are entirely vinified by plot, and the different varieties are kept separate until blended. As I say, they're looking to allow longer hang time, and the grapes here were harvested entirely by hand in the last week of October 2019. Fruit was taken straight to the winery, where it was pressed in a 4-ton cockard press, and they're very careful here at measuring the stage at which they finish taking the cut. Now, in normal champagne processing, you will stop taking the couve at a particular volume of wine. Instead, here they'll measure potassium levels, because they're looking to avoid too high a potassium in the juice, which will act to buffer the acidity. So the selection is made not by a recipe, but according to an analysis that reflects the fruit that's picked on the day. Fermentation went on in a 21 hectolitre oak cask from a cooper called Rousseau, not with the idea of putting oak flavours in there, but just to allow a certain amount of oxygenation to go on to allow the Chardonnay flavours to show themselves more fully. Fermentation was done entirely with a selected yeast. The yeast that they use, I understand, is called Marquise, and they like that because they're able to manage it to get a very clean flavour from the juice. This wine then spent 30 months aging on its lees in the bottle. And at degorgement it was just given a 5 gram per litre dosage. So there's very little sugar in here being left to balance the acidity. So actually they wanted the fruit flavour and the yeast aging component to do that instead. The other thing to note is, because this was a high acid vintage, this is the first time, and this is the third vintage in which they've made this Blanc de Blanc, but this was the first time that they've conducted a full malolactic conversion on this wine. The malolactic conversion helping to soften the acidity and give a slightly broader, richer mouthfeel to the wine. So I've probably said enough, so let's have a taste. Looking at the wine, I've been talking for a while and the bead has somewhat faded. However, there are still some really fine bubbles rising in this, just very gently. The aromas that are coming off there have a beautiful toasty nature. There's a really saline aspect to the whole thing. There's a wonderful underlying minerality, probably reflecting those chalk soils. There's toastiness. As I said, an underlying saline note, and then there are hints of green apple and a little citrus. And as they open, those citrus notes are almost gaining a candied peel note. So let's have a taste. On the palate, the wine has a wonderful pungency. Its acidity gives it a lean, mineral nature that runs right through the wine. Surrounding that, there is this sort of rich, initially almost sort of lemon curd note. There's some hints of green apple, and then those lemony notes expand. And again, I'm getting those notes of candied peel. There's almost a sort of a slight note of gingery spice there. It's wonderfully complex, good and long, and the mineral acidity still persisting at the end there ensures the finish is lovely and clean. The wine's quite light-bodied, it's elegant, there's still saline notes lingering, there's hints of green apple, and again that sort of candied peel note. This is a wine I think is quite spectacular. I love its complexity and its individuality. If you enjoy really lean, mineral, Blanc de Blanc champagnes, wines like those of L'Amandier Bernier or something like that, this is a wine I think you will love. It's already showing some fantastic development, and I think given 3 or 4 more years bottle age, this will be even more spectacular. I took a quick look at the Wine Searcher aggregated critic score for this wine and was really quite shocked to see that it had got an 89 out of 100, because I'd quite happily put this at 93 at least. I don't know, maybe I've lost my objectivity, but I actually think this is a wine with great complexity, wonderful intensity, and some real character that really does push it up the quality stakes. And during the last week or so, looking at a large number of English sparkling wines, I've been really impressed by the number of the top wines that really do excel in this way. So thank you so much for watching. I do hope you found the video of interest, and if you do get the chance, I would highly suggest trying some good English sparkling wines. They've really amazed me while I've been visiting vineyards here. They've been fantastic to try. So if you've enjoyed the video, do please remember to press the like button. I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to watch more of these videos, do please sign up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you would just looking up there, that's a hurricane and 2 Spitfires flying over me as I speak. Just behind me, you're flying off into the distance. If you have any comments, do please feel free to leave them in the comments box below. I'd love to know what you think about the wines I'm looking at, the tastings I'm doing, or anything else that relates to those, or to English sparkling wines, or to champagnes in any way. If you have any friends you think might like to watch the video, do please pass it on to them. I'd be very grateful to you for that support. I will of course leave a link in the notes below to the Wine Searcher webpage for this vintage of this wine, and you can see if it's available near you and at what price. And I would heartily suggest tracking down the wines of Hundred Hills. They've really impressed me. So thank you again for joining me, and I do hope that if you have the time, you'll come and join me for another tasting in the very near future. Till then, bye for now.